Hey guys, welcome to my channel where I talk all things side hustling, entrepreneurship, and small business optimization. Today's video is all about how to be consistent. Honestly, this is a topic that people talk to me a lot about, and a lot of people mention that it's really a pain point for them, and understandably so. I think it's something that I'm pretty good at now, but honestly, I didn't just get this way overnight. Consistency, discipline, these are a combination of like mental things, but also they really require you to build physical habits and take action as well. So it's not easy to do, but anybody can do it. But since this is a topic that I know so many people struggle with, and I know it's not easy to get to the point where you can be consistent, I decided to make a video that's kind of just a brain dump around why I think people struggle with consistency and how we can all get better at it. So the first way that we can all be a little bit more consistent is by having a plan of action. Question for you. For all the things that you've tried to be consistent at and failed to be consistent at, how many of those things did you actually have a plan for? What I find is that very few people actually develop a plan of action for the things that they say that they want. And honestly, I could do a whole other video on how we really have to assess how badly somebody really wants something if they're saying that they want it, but they're not willing to put a plan of action into place for it. But that's another video for another time. My point really is this: if you don't have a plan, you're not setting yourself up for success. If you haven't outlined a plan for how you're going to take that idea that's in your mind or that you're always talking about with your friends and translate it into action that you can take today, tomorrow, and all the days after that, then it's gonna be really hard to stay consistent. And a simple example that I'm sure so many of us have faced is if you say you're gonna go to the gym, well, it's easy enough to say that you want it, but if you haven't developed a plan of action, we all know it's hard to stay consistent. And the reason why it's so hard to stay consistent is because you really haven't built a plan for how you're gonna address the challenges that come up when you try and do this thing that you say you want to do. And what I find with consistency is it's not big challenges that suddenly get in our way. It's little things that build on each other that make it hard for us to suddenly push through and really get to the finish line. So running with that example of going to the gym, you might start going to the gym, but you don't know how to use the machines, or you don't know how to do the proper form even when you're just using your own body weight. And then maybe because you don't know how to do those things, you feel awkward and not confident when you're at the gym. And because you're feeling awkward and not confident and you don't really have a plan and you don't really know what you're doing, suddenly when you go to the gym, you're there for 2 hours instead of 45 minutes. Then you start feeling like the gym is getting in the way of spending time with friends or family or other social time. And I know this is just one example, but can't you see through it how not having a plan of action can really easily snowball out of control? And before you know it, there's all these little things that have built on top of each other, stacked on top of each other, and are basically a barrier to your ability to stay consistent. And I'm telling you, once those things build and build and build up high enough, what you're gonna find is it's way easier to quit than to keep going. What having a plan of action does for you is it's really just having that foresight to be like, hey, I know I say I want this thing, but there are gonna be challenges that pop up. So I need to figure out and establish how I'm really gonna tackle this goal that I have or this thing that I say that I want, because it's not going to be easy. So if you were to say from the jump, hey, I want to go to the gym, but I don't really know what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is for the first month, for the first 30 days, I'm going to invest in a trainer that I'm going to meet up with 2 times a week. Through that trainer, I'm going to learn the proper form for exercises. I'm going to learn how to properly use all the equipment in the gym. And that in itself is going to make me feel more confident, so that after that first 30 days, I can kind of go out on my own. But I still know that, hey, after the first 30 days, it's not going to be easy. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a 30-day exercise plan to follow for my second month at the gym. So now that I have the fundamentals down with my trainer after the first month, I'm going to follow this 30-day exercise plan that aligns with whatever my goals are. And following this plan ensures that every time I step into the gym, I know exactly what I'm doing, because I have a plan laid out for me. Now, before you know it, you're already in your 3rd month of going to the gym and being consistent with something that you said you would do. Why? Because you developed a plan of action to tackle all the challenges that you knew you would face. So I know I kind of talked a lot around one example, but my point that I'm really hoping that you'll get from this example is that you need to have a plan of action. If you don't have a plan of action, you're gonna be spinning around your wheels. You're gonna be talking a lot about this thing that you say you want, but you're not actually going to be able to push through and stay consistent when the challenges pop up. Now, the second point is to be realistic. Guys, I'm all for setting aggressive goals. Like, I'm here for it. And the reality is, if you have a big vision for your life and you have a big vision for your long-term goals like I do, you have to set aggressive goals. Like, there's just no way around it. But honestly, guys, there always needs to be this element, this underlying thread of realism. So meaning that you understand where you are today, you accept where you are, the situation that you're in, and you're prepared to deal with it accordingly. So you could set a goal to do a triathlon tomorrow, but if you've been sitting on the couch for the last year of your life, then realistically, you need to prepare yourself mentally and physically for tackling that goal. Otherwise, once you embark on it, you're not going to stay consistent. You're going to quit, probably not even halfway through, because you haven't accepted your reality and how far you still have to go in order to accomplish what you say you want to accomplish. So I feel like people use this idea of being realistic in this dream crushing way, but honestly, that is not how I think of it. For me, like I've already said, I just think of it as understanding where you are, accepting your current state, and being prepared to deal with it accordingly. The reality is, if you're not prepared to deal with your current state to get to where you want to be, you're not going to be consistent. If just the idea of tackling the issues that you have today is really overwhelming, then it's going to be really, really hard to put a plan of action into place for tomorrow. And one thing I want to mention to you guys is that the best predictor of future success is past behavior. Now, I truly believe that anybody can change their future at any given moment with any decision that they make today. However, understanding your current state, understanding your past behavior is really important, because it's really giving you a lens to be realistic and understand just how far you have to go in order to get to where you want to be, and understand the consistency that's going to be required in achieving your goal. Your past behavior exposes all your bad habits, limiting beliefs, self-sabotage, all the things that you need to get over in order to get from point A to point B. So remember that you totally can do it. You can get there, but you need to be realistic about where you're at today, your present state, and where you were the day before today, in order to develop a realistic plan of action that will get you to where you want to be. Now, one thing that I am not going to talk about in depth in this video is setting SMART goals. And the reason why I'm not going to talk about it is because if you've seen a couple of my videos, I swear I mention SMART goals in almost every single video. So I'm not even going to get into it, but I'm going to advise that you guys check out this video if you don't know what SMART goals are, or if you want to learn how to set SMART goals, because it is such an important element of being consistent. Now, the third point that I'm going to touch on is mental preparation. As I've already said earlier in this video, being consistent, like 70% of it is a mental game. It's about being mentally tough. And I firmly believe that you cannot depend on motivation alone to get you to where you want to be. I have an entire video that you can check out right here about how to elongate the high of motivation, but nobody ever stays in that high for the rest of their life, right? Like, that's why I say you can't depend on motivation alone, because it'll wax and wane, it'll go up and down. But having a tough mindset, having that mental grit, is what keeps you pushing even when you aren't motivated. That's why the key is to prepare yourself mentally for what's to come. And by that, I mean preparing yourself for the challenges that are gonna pop up and having the confidence to persevere despite those challenges. Now, there are so many different ways that you could start preparing yourself mentally to stay consistent, but one of the most effective ways for me to do it is by using my long-term goals, so my 3 to 5 year goals, in order to keep me pushing. My 3 to 5 year goals are the things that really push me to be consistent, because those are the things that I want so badly that I'm willing to dig towards them, literally digging in the trenches towards them for years. I'm willing to work consistently towards them for 3 to 5 years. So what I'm gonna ask you is that if you struggle with consistently, what have you really done mentally to prepare yourself for it? And if the answer is nothing, then we gotta start at the fundamentals. Why do you want what you say you want? What are you willing to sacrifice in order to get there? These are just a couple of like the precursor questions that you need to really ask yourself and be honest with yourself about in order to address the challenges and the work that's to come. So one of the things that I recently decided for myself is I'm not going to take on anything, I'm not going to start anything unless I can stay consistently committed to it for a minimum of 12 months. So I'm not taking on any new projects or side hustles or anything like that if I'm not willing to do it for a full year straight. And the reality is, guys, I'm too busy, you're too busy, we're all too busy to do things that are just time sucks. I don't need more distractions in my life. If I don't see that something has that long-term viability, I don't even want it. And let me tell you guys some of the mental work that I had to go through in order to really set that in stone for myself. Honestly, I was really reflecting, and just a couple of years ago, I really thought that things could happen for me overnight, basically, just over a very short period of time. Like, I really thought that I'd be able to tick off all the things that I want and are on my list like that. But I've really realized that there is no shortcut to success, despite how the internet might make it seem. And ultimately, I don't want to stand on a shaky foundation. I would rather take my time, build my life up right, get my money right, get my mind right the first time around. For me, I'm 100% confident that I'm gonna get to where I want to be. It's really just a matter of when. And that confidence in myself and in achieving my goals is what helps me stay consistent. So it's about doing the mental gymnastics first and really unpacking things and doing the work ahead of time. I'm telling you guys, 70% of it is a mental game, so get your mind right. Okay guys, I know that was kind of just a brain dump of some of my thoughts on consistency, why people struggle with it, some areas to focus on if you're trying to work on becoming more consistent. But I really hope you got a little bit of value out of this video, and if you did, make sure you hit the like button down below or hit the subscribe button. As a small YouTuber, it helps me more than you would imagine. That's all for now, and I'll see you guys next Sunday when I drop my next video.